Hey guys, this is a video that will go over corrections for our linear equation test for Chapter 5. So, number one corresponds to version 3. This same problem in version 1 would be number 14, so you can look at what you got for number 14. Also for version 2, that would be number 14, so you can see what you got. Alright, which linear equation matches this graph? Well, this is a graph all about intercepts. Because these are all in standard form, it's very easy to find the intercepts by just using the cover-up method. In other words, things like this, our x-intercept is where y equals 0. And that will tell you what, in the equation, what x would be. Well, all you would have to do for each of these is plug in y is 0. So that would be 3 times 0, that would be 0. 2 times 0. So these terms would all be 0. So basically, it's which one of these will give me an x value of 3. Well, this would give me an x value of negative 3, so I know it's not A. This one would give me an x value to solve this. 3 times x equals negative 6. This would give me an x value of negative 2. So that's not it. This one would give me an x value of, well, a positive 3, so this one's still in the running here. And this one would give me an x value of, well, 2. So it has to be C. Now we can check that to see if that matches our y-intercept. That's where x is 0. Okay, so if x is 0, that's 2 times x is 0. And y would be, well, negative 3 times 2 would get 6, or negative 3 times a negative 2 rather, would get me to a positive 6, and that is, in fact, how we get that. Okay? Number 2, and again, this is number 2 for version 3. If you have version 1, check number 6. If you have version 2, check number 13. Okay, which equation a line that has a slope of negative 3 over 2 and passes through this point? Well, notice all of these have, it shows that our slope is negative 3 over 2, all of them, so really it all comes down to our y-intercept. So we have two different ways that we could handle it. We could handle it using the point slope formula, or we could use a little common sense, and this is what we call our alternate method. We know the slope is negative 3 over 2, so I'm going to go ahead and tackle this one this way first. If I have this as negative 3 over 2, and this point is on the line of this, I can take this point and plug this in my x and y, and be able to solve for, at that point, my only unknown will be b. So let's do that. It says my y-intercept is negative 8, and the only one with a y-intercept of negative 8 is right there. So that's how to do it with a more straightforward common sense approach. Oops. Nope. There. What the heck? Those people who use the point slope formula, again, we would just plug in the slope and the point and go right through, and of course we will get to the same place. Okay. Number 3 for version 3, again, version 1 would, well, actually they're all 3. That's pretty interesting. Okay. Find the y-intercept of the line that passes through this point and is perpendicular to this line. Okay. Here a little bit more challenging question, just because we have to do several things. So the first thing is we're asked to find the y-intercept of a line. So we would want, basically we're looking for this y-intercept here, this b. And we know it has to be perpendicular to this line. So if it's perpendicular to this line, I know the slope of this line is 2. So perpendicular to that would be the negative reciprocal, or the opposite reciprocal, so it's negative 1 over 2. So I already know the slope of the line that I want. It's a negative 1 over 2. Now it says it must go through this point. So again, I'm just going to plug that point in, my x and y values into x and y, and solve for b. My y-intercept is 5, and that'll be b. Okay. Number 4, and again this is for version 3 here. Find the slope of the line. The slope of this line, well, the easy way to take care of this is just turn this into point, or to slope intercept form. So we want to get y alone. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, and I'm going to divide every term by 2. That lets me know my slope here is negative 3 over 2. That's C. Number 5. Here it says here are 4 linear equations in which pair of lines are perpendicular. So perpendicular has everything to do with slope. So really we want to take a look at all 4 of these slopes and compare them. Now let's just, the first 2 are in standard form, so I would have to go ahead and calculate those. But both 3 and 4, this is in point slope form and this is in slope intercept form. So if you understand these forms, you would know that these are our slopes right away. So really the only 2 we have to calculate are 1 and 2. These 2 are given to us. And now when looking at these, which ones are perpendicular? Well, first of all, they have to be opposite reciprocals, and so I only see one positive in here, so I know this is one of them. What's the opposite reciprocal to this? Well, it would have to be a negative 2 over 3. So of course that gives us this one. So since these are the 2 lines, there it is, 2 and 3. Number 6, which equation represents a line that's perpendicular to this line? Well, first we need the equation, we need the slope of this line, which is very easy to tell here. It rises 2, runs 3. So I have a slope in this line of 2 over 3. Perpendicular, that is negative 3 over 2. Which one of these has a slope of negative 3 over 2? Right there. Number 7, which equation describes a line through these points? Now notice all these here are in point slope form. And since they're all in point slope form, look at my slopes. Negative 1 over 3, negative 3, 1 over 3, and 3. Really, all I would have to do was just figure out the proper slope between these 2 points. And if I understand how this works, very simple problem. So, calculating the slope between these 2 points, I get a slope of 3. Only one of these lines has a slope of 3, and that's D. If you went ahead and plugged in this point here, you would also find out that that matches this in point slope form. Number 8, what's the slope of a line that passes through these points? Again, very simple problem, just finding the slope, but when we do the change of y over the change of x, you get a 0 up top. What that means is this is a horizontal line. And if you drew that out, it would be pretty easy to see. A horizontal line, that's the only way that I could possibly have, that's a 3, points that have the same y value. And if they have the same y value, it's a horizontal line, which means our slope is 0. Very simple. What's the slope of this line? This just has to be something that you absolutely know. A vertical line is not a function. It does not have a slope, and when asked what the slope is, it is undefined because there is no run in this. That means the denominator would be 0, which division by 0 is undefined in mathematics. 10, find the x-intercept of the line through these points. Now this is a good problem because it asks for a lot. I have 2 points here and it asks for the x-intercept of the line. So I have to write an equation for a line and then find the x-intercept. Understanding that I have 2 points, every single line has to have an x-intercept with the exception of a horizontal line, which this is not. And where that x-intercept is where y is 0. So I need the equation of the line so I can plug in y equals 0 to that equation, where I would plug in y equals 0. So first I'm going to find the slope of our line, which is negative 2. I'm now just going to plug that into my slope-intercept form, and now I can use either one of these points to calculate. I now calculate the y-intercept of this line. Now once I have the y-intercept, remember I'm asking for the x-intercept. You now have to plug in y equals 0 and solve for x. X equals 3, that's the point where it crosses the x-axis. Number 11, which equation matches the graph? Well, again, fairly simple problem, because if you look at this, all these have different slopes. So all I need is the slope of this line. The slope is rise 2, run 3. Rise 2, run 3. Very simple problem. 12. Find the slope of line perpendicular to a line that passes through this. Easy. Find the slope of this line. Just calculate it, which is negative 2 over 3. Perpendicular, opposite reciprocal, 3 over 2. Number 13, find both the x and y intercepts. Well, very simple. My y-intercept is right here. That's just saying that that's where x is 0. What's my y? That's where it crosses the y-axis. So as we see that, we can basically cross out A, B's okay, C's okay, and cross out D. Next, I want to know what's my x-intercept. My x-intercept is where y equals 0. So all I do is plug in y equals 0 and solve for x. Once I do that, x is 4, so obviously it's not this one. Our answer is B. X-intercept, y-intercept. 14. Find the value of k if this point is on the line described here. Well, if this point is on this line, it must satisfy the equation of the line. In other words, the x here value and the y value, I just plug them in and solve for k. Very simple process. Finally, number 15, what's the slope of the line parallel to this line? If you understand that a slope parallel just means the same slope as this line, you just find the slope. This slope is obviously a negative slope, because as we go from left to right, as the x increases, the y decreases. It decreases by 3 as we increase by 4. So rise over run, negative 3 over 4 is B. All right, there you go.